Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and today I'm joined by Eric.
Julia.
It's been a very, very, very long hiatus, but we are finally back covering Falcon Crest,
Yay.
season
The
3.
best season. I love this season.
Um, well, I've never finished the show, but for me, every season is better than the last, at least till like
Hmm.
season 6, anyway.
Yeah, it's
uh,
true. It's true.
but yeah, so this is our segment that we like to call "Don't Touch My Grapes" because Angela does not like it when you mess with her grapes. So I'll roll the credits, and we will start season 3. Episodes 1, 2, and 3. So the title of the first one I can't pronounce, so I was just calling it Cinnamon Dawn. It's like
Sem-
Sumerian
Sumerian.
Dawn.
Sumeri-
I'm like cinnamon.
Sumerian Dawn. I know, I'm like, what are they trying to get like really hard titles? Like
Right.
the next one is kind of weird too.
Yeah. Um, so we see the funeral that
But wait, we gotta start with the credits. Who's added to the credits? Miss Margaret Ladd is finally added to the credits after 2 seasons.
oh, and is Vicky gone? Did they take her out?
Vicky is out of the credits, but she's a guest star.
Okay.
And then we
I
have
was really just
two
paying
other
attention for
ones.
Maggie's turnaround because I like her turnaround.
No, she don't spin in this
No,
last
this one's
season.
just kind of like hey, how are you? Did she spin in
Yeah,
season 2? I know season 1 was just clips,
nope.
but did she spin in season 2?
No, she don't spin till 4.
Well, I mean turnaround anyway, like she does in this one.
Yeah.
She did in season 2?
No, she didn't.
Oh, she didn't. Okay,
No.
so this is the first
She
one.
doesn't do a good spin till season 4.
Yeah, that's the aggressive spin.
Yeah.
The whiplash spin.
No, five is the super aggressive spin.
Oh, is it?
That's the one
Yeah.
that she whips around. Yeah.
Which was perfect with how the music went, and then they used it, I think, in season 6, and it like because they had more cast members, it didn't like match up with the music, and I'm like, well,
Right.
it doesn't make sense anymore. Should
Right.
have a new one. But anyway, enough of Maggie spins.
Yeah.
um, so the funeral that we kind of left off because um Jacqueline shot a gun. And we didn't know who she shot, but we had to know that somebody died because they showed a casket at the end of last season.
You mean Julia?
Julia. Wrong Jai, sorry.
I'm like, wait, Jacqueline? No.
um
Jacqueline.
so we have the funeral and it's Jacqueline that died. She got shot. Um and she also apparently shot
Chase.
Chase. I wanted to call him Scott. I don't know why.
Too many
I don't know why
podcasts.
I gotta remember.
They're all in the brain circulating.
Who is in a coma currently with the bullet in him.
Yeah.
His cousin Michael
Michael Ranson, yes.
shows up at the funeral for Jacqueline. I did not remember that detail that they were cousins. I thought they were just friends.
No.
So
Cousins.
apparently his mother and Jacqueline were sisters.
Yes.
That feels important. Do we ever meet his mother or is she dead?
No. I don't think I think we hear about her maybe, but I'm pretty sure she's not with us.
Okay. I
I love
immediately was
Michael
like,
right from the get-go.
oh, he's like the Nick Toscani of this season, but he's not like Nick.
Not at all. Not at all. He's actually good and nice and helpful.
Julia is in jail and she doesn't want to get out. Angela wants to like prove her innocence and she'd rather be in jail than have to deal with Angela.
Yeah.
So does Julia think she killed Chase? Because when she's getting like bullied by the other inmates, she's just like I'm not in here for like shoplifting. She's like, I killed 2 people and I'll kill a third.
No, because she killed Carlo. So she killed Carlo and she
Oh,
killed
I wasn't
Jacqueline.
even thinking about that. I was thinking she thought she shot 2 people and killed them.
Yeah, so she knows Chase is with us still for now.
Okay. All right. That was funny. She's like, "I'll kill you." I don't care.
I know. I love it. All right, this is my favorite jail storyline I think ever. It's our storyline through this season.
Melissa wants nothing to do with her.
Or Lance.
Or Lance. I forgot. I thought it was over between her and Richard. Because they had a
No.
close up at one point of them kissing, like the scene open with them kissing, and I was
Right.
like, "Who's he kissing?" And then I'm like, "Oh, Melissa." I was like, "This is still a thing." I thought this was like over after like didn't Lance like corner her at a party and like force himself on top of her and they were in love and back together again? Like I thought that like
Yeah, yeah, but Richard's kind of using her, so
yeah.
they keep it open. And I guess this actually might have turned her back to Richard in a way.
She I love her, but she's a hoe. She's like with Richard, she's with Cole, and she's with Lance. And she wants them all.
So you can say that's a hoe, but she's not sleeping with all of them at the same time.
Well, Richard and Lance,
But
she
now she's not.
overlapped.
But now she's not sleeping with Lance because she's pissed at him for his mom's crimes. So
And
I
Cole, I
mean,
always just feels like she's just like always had loved him, but that they
yes.
can be together. Like whenever they're together, she looks at him like this is what we could have had kind of situation.
You know, I'm going to compare this to Days of Our Lives. This reminds me because I love Melissa and Cole together, and I loved original Eric and Nicole together. And when Nicole chose Lucas basically for money
Hmm.
over Eric, it reminds me of this too,
Okay,
because it's very similar. Because she chose Falcon Crest over her love for Cole. I
right.
mean, she tried to like say, "Hey, we should stay together" to Cole, but Cole's like, no,
But
I'm
like
not gonna
in
do that.
secret, right? Like a side relationship.
Right, like a side piece.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I'm just doing this for Falcon Crest. Like, we can stay together. Like, what's your problem?" And he's like, "What? No."
Cole doesn't know that baby Joseph is his, right?
I guess he does at this point.
He does.
Yes,
Okay. I thought
that's
maybe
why
he
he acts the way
suspect.
he does.
Okay, but he's keeping it a secret.
He's keeping it a secret. Yeah, I think. I forget what. Like for now, I
Hmm.
guess just because of I don't know. I forget why.
So Richard, I know you don't like Richard like I do, but Richard is kind of hiding his grief. He's not really dealing
I
with
don't. I don't hate Richard, and I don't love him.
it. um, and I like that Emma kind of like breaks him, but she doesn't really know it. She's just
All the
like,
time.
it's okay. She's like, you can cry, and he's like, I haven't cried once, and she's like, sometimes you just can't help it. It just comes upon you, and she leaves, and he like wrecks his office
Yeah. Right.
and cries.
Yeah. He loved his mama, even though he hated her.
I think he liked the idea of his mom because he didn't know she was his mom until like the last couple of episodes.
Right.
Um,
And
and
he
I think
never
he's
really got
just
to know her, and he's always been he's jealous of Chase because he had a relationship with the mother, and he didn't.
yeah, and I also feel like he feels like she chose Chase over him,
Yeah.
so that
I mean,
there's a
she
lot of
kind of did.
yeah,
She kind
he
of
did.
did. She could have gotten him back at some point, but she did
Right,
not.
right. Um, and by the end of the episode, Chase wakes up. Was Vicky at the funeral? Yeah, she was. Right?
Yes, Vicky was at the funeral. And also, I must point out, remember I told you Father Bob was there. Father
Yeah.
Bob is
The
throughout
minute I
the
saw him, I was like,
entire
there he is.
series. He pops up every once in like he'll be like one or two, three times maybe a season, and then sometimes he's in a whole season, like every other episode, and then sometimes he's just not seen it in one random episode. You're just like, oh, Father Bob.
Yeah, I remember him being a lot in the season where there was that priest character.
Yes, yeah, season 5, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Julia and Emma's talk at the jail. Where
Uh,
Emma's like, remember when we were like this? She's like, yeah, it sucks. I hate them. Oh, and then she fills her in on the Carlo affair.
um, And I guess that's pretty much all that happens in the first episode. It ends with Chase waking up from his coma.
Philip's on.
Yeah, and I
Um,
laughed because I was like, I know I'm gonna call him Andrew Laird. I know it.
um, Angie wants Julia free on bail, and Philip is trying to work on that. Um, which is important to what's coming up. Richard does want to avenge his mother's death. He does say at one point.
Hmm.
I like that when they're talking about Jacqueline dying, and she's like, Jacqueline was a vital person. Like, like, she's so happy she's dead, she just wants to dance, but like she's trying to keep it in. Um, Lance visits Julia in jail in the first episode too. And she says she got involved with Carlo for him, which I guess she was trying to like bring I guess she was doing what he was doing with Melissa, like trying to bring the Agretti and Falcon Crest together, the vineyards, and because it would be a powerhouse.
Was
And also Sarah Douglas is in this as Pamela Lynch. She pops up when
She's the new companion.
yeah, what did Melissa say to her? I forget. Melissa and Richard were making out in her office, and she's just like interrupted. He's like, "Can you use the door next time?" And I forget what she said. She's like, "Oh, your new one was prettier than the last, or this one, or something like that." It's like, "Damn, girl, already starting off nicely with Pamela." So Pamela's like, "Hey, don't like this girl."
So in the second episode that I can't pronounce,
Penumbra.
Penumbra,
Yeah,
I want to say Pumbaa.
Pumbaa. That's what I
um,
mean. It's weird.
so they haven't really told Chase that his mother died because they don't want it to affect his recovery by stressing him out. Um, but Angela has to let it out.
His doctor is actually really important. We forgot to bring him up. Dr. Landry, Ron Rifkin.
Hmm. So he's being really shady about Chase's recovery, almost like he doesn't want him to recover.
Well, no, he wanted him to recover until Lance and Angie do what they do.
Oh, because Angela finds out that he supplements his income by selling pills legally.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because
she basically like blackmails him to like stall Chase's recovery. So because the longer he's
she,
away, she could have control of Falcon Crest.
well, she has Lance go and pretend he's having some issues. So that's how she finds out about the pills. And then, um, he gets the pills, brings them back. She's like, "Oh, let's have a meeting, whatever," and screws him over.
Do we see Vicky in this one? I feel like because she's a
Yes,
guest star, she's not in every episode up until she leaves.
she's only
Oh,
in three.
is this where she catches
Mm-hmm.
what's his name? I forgot his name.
Nick,
Nick.
Nick Hogan, yeah,
So
and
I guess
Sheila.
Nick and his wife are back together. Like they sleep together, and Vicky walks in on them.
I Now that remember I told you before I said this I don't like where the story goes because I'm like she could have been sent off in a different way. Like this was just a weird way to send her off. Like I'd rather her like because it felt like they were pushing them together the whole season, and now
Right,
this is like I feel like a total character change in Nick, and I'm like now all of a sudden he's sleeping with his ex-wife who we had a lot of issues with,
right.
and he got married to Vicky. I don't know.
Remember we were
I
so
just think
confused. We're like, do they even like each other? It's like they know that they're sleeping with other people, but they're like mad about it. Like we will not get divorced though, but I will have my side piece. Like the wife anyway was like sleeping. Like I felt like the wife was sleeping around, and she was like mad at him for doing the same.
I think Jamie Rose was initially signed on to play another year, and that's probably why it was setting it up. And then like the storyline changed, and they're like, okay, well now we have to write her out. So they changed him to be a dickhead and did all that stuff.
Ball and Lance brings Joseph the ball, right?
Yeah.
So he's like playing with the ball. Him and Melissa are talking and ends up fighting. They're not paying attention to the baby. And the baby ends up getting his hands on the pills. And they find him unconscious and he's not breathing.
Yeah.
And we know it's the pills because then they like focus in on the pill bottle being open on the chair.
Mhm. And I
uh,
think Lance sees the pill bottle and he's like, oh man. Like,
but he scoops it up so he could give it to whoever at the hospital so they know like what he ingested.
yep.
Um, I know I shouldn't put real world logic into this, but they were saying he's not breathing. Even at the hospital, they were still doing CPR. And I'm like, if he wasn't breathing this whole time, after 8 minutes, he's dead. Like,
Yeah, right.
and like was it Dr. Landry? Or was it a different doctor? He was like annoyed that Michael was in there doing CPR, like doing compressions on his chest. And then he
Yeah, I
like took
didn't
over.
remember that.
He was like, "What gives you the right?" And I was like, "He's trying to save a child. Get out, like, shut up."
Right.
But I did like how they're at the hospital and Melissa's like accusing Lan. She's like, "You killed my baby," and that's how it ends.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Philip, yeah, this is important. Philip tells Angie she may be able to get Falcon Crest if Chase isn't competent,
Hmm.
which is what led to
The black man.
um the pills and the blackmail, which we did forget to mention. Chase is mad at Maggie for not telling him um that Jacqueline was dead, and he gets upset, but then he's like crying for her afterward. I felt bad for him. Like, this poor guy.
Hmm.
Spoke up. Mom's dead, found out from Angie, blah blah blah. Philip talks to Julia and he's like, you should behave in court, if you want to get off, whatever. And she's like, don't tell me what to do. She goes crazy and throws a fit, and then she's like, basically fires him. She's like, you're not, no, I'm going to defend myself, which we know never works well.
Right.
Vicky tells Cole about getting the divorce from Nick. She's like, I just want to get a divorce and get out of here. Like, she don't even
Right.
have
And I was like,
anything else to do.
I didn't remember that they were married. Was it a
Yeah, they
small
got
wedding?
married.
Did we see it?
I'm trying to, yeah, I feel like we did. Yeah, um, I forget if it was off screen. It might have been off screen. I forget.
I feel like I'm remembering her in a wedding dress, but it was like a quick, like, we just saw them at the altar and that was it.
I think, yeah, I feel like that was the finale. Yeah.
Is that what the
Oh,
party was in the finale? Was it like their wedding reception?
I believe so. Yeah. She wanted to throw Vicky a wedding reception,
Okay.
Angie.
And then Jacqueline showed up.
Oh, and Dr. Landry also starts drugging Chase because he has to make him incompetent to go
Mhm.
with the papers. So he puts that needle into
His
his, what's that?
IV. Mhm.
His IV, thank you. Like his drip.
Um, so episode 3 is titled Conspiracy. And Chase is kind of like sweating a lot. And he has an infection from this bullet. And
Yeah.
Dr. Landry keeps saying that they need to operate, but Michael's not really like sure about that. He thinks with the infection that could be like fatal,
Yeah.
but Landry's like insistent on it. Um, so much so that it kind of alarms Maggie, and Maggie like wants the second opinion to kind of contrast. And then there's like a third doctor that comes in, and it's just like, all right, whose patient is it? Like, make a decision. Melissa, I guess, was this because of Richard that she agrees to pretend to forgive Julia
Um,
so that they could get dirt on Angela?
yeah, I feel like what they're doing is they're trying to turn Julia against Angela.
Right. But then
That's Richard's plan.
Richard also visited her, and
Right.
they both kind of were like giddy at the idea of taking down Angela. So I feel like she's already on board. She's like, yeah, let's get this bitch. Like,
She is, but I think he's doing it in a not nice way because I mean, Julia did kill his mom,
mhm,
so I think he's like using her to screw her and get Angela. So he's acting like her best brother, like the best,
right,
you know what I mean? And then like he totally is gonna screw her over because he feels like she needs to pay,
right,
and get Angela at the same time.
right.
Which
Um,
is why everybody's kind of using her. So Melissa's using Julia as well. Tells her about like she's pregnant, which we find out right in the I think we found out in the first episode of the season, which we didn't mention.
no, we find out in this episode actually.
Is it this episode?
Yeah, so we're at the hospital. The
Okay.
baby's like, having a CPR still. even though he should be dead. They say that they say that they have to pump his stomach. Um, Melissa's hysterical, and Angela has to get her like little digs in, talking about how they're bad parents and if she had been paying attention. And Melissa like freaks out on her, and then she's just like, she like passes out.
Right, right. Yeah, she passes
Which
out.
normally would have like made my antenna go up, like pregnant, but like I didn't remember her being pregnant again, so I just like brushed it off as she was just so like hysterical that
And right, and
she
the near
passed
death of
out.
right, right. That's what I exactly I was thinking too. I thought that was pretty good writing because a lot of people probably thought that and wouldn't think at this point, she would be pregnant.
Angela at one point at breakfast, Melissa comes down all giddy. I think this is after she found out she was pregnant.
And Joseph
And
was better by then, of course.
yeah,
She would
Joseph,
not be giddy.
yeah, Joseph was fine.
Joseph's
Cole
fine.
was there. They had one of their little moments where it's like, oh, this is what we could have had. We could have been a little happy family like scene. Um, I think this is also the episode where Cole like confronts Linda's father, who's like screaming at him, and he's just like, "Listen, I try to play nice with you." He's like, "But I'm still gonna see her, so I'm just letting you know I'm not
Yeah,
around. This is what's happening." And he literally says to Linda, "Call me later," in front of him.
yeah. That's Mr. Caproni.
They own like a pizzeria, right, or like an Italian restaurant that she works at.
I forget if it's a bakery. I forget. We'll find out soon, but
Oh, okay,
I don't know. It's some kind of family thing, family owned thing.
right. So yeah, so later on, Melissa comes down all giddy, and she's Angela's like, "Oh, what are you up to today?" She's like, "Oh, I'm running some errands," and she's like, "Oh, well, I don't really have a lot to do. Maybe I'll do them with you." And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm going to San Francisco." And Angela's like, "Yeah, about your San Francisco trips." She's like,
Yeah.
"I was in San Francisco, and I could have sworn that I saw you with Richard Channing kissing." And Melissa's
Oops.
like, "Oh, well, you must have been mistaken. That wasn't me." And Angela's like, "Must have been." And then Lance comes down and he's like, "Champagne," and he's like, "We're celebrating." And Angel's like, "What are we celebrating?" And that's where he announces that Melissa's pregnant and that
Yeah.
they're going to be a foursome, this little family.
Yeah.
Oh, so Philip told Richard that Jacqueline was dying of cancer
Yes.
and that she stepped in front of Richard to spare her son from being shot.
Yep.
So now he
She
has
went
all
out a
this.
hero.
So now he like has all this other like extra guilt
Hmm.
and I guess like love and admiration for his mother because she saved his life. He gave up hers to save his. Like,
Which is why he wants to get Julia.
right. Um. So we mentioned Chase has an infection. So Angela and the doctor have like a side conversation, and she's like happy that he's not doing well. But then when he like
Hmm.
mentions that he pretty much has to die, she's like, that wasn't the plan." And he's like, "Well, now," he's like, "That's what has to happen." He's like, "I have to cover my tracks." He's like, "And if I don't, you're going down with me." So she's
She's
just like,
like, I just want him out of my grapes. And
oh, so Melissa goes to see Julia.
hmm.
And Julia says that she didn't think she could face her. And that's when Julia asks her what happened. And we see a flashback, newly created.
Newly created flashback.
So, like we said, he basically threatened to expose the affair, and so she had to take care of him. But it looked like was he cheating on her?
Yes.
Or did it just end between them, and he started sleeping with somebody else, and she?
He was with in the flashback. He was with multiple women. So he was with the one woman, I think, in bed, and then he was with another woman where she said she was going to go kill herself.
Yeah, she's like, "I got a
Um,
gun." She's like, "For to use on myself."
yeah, she was going to go kill herself on a mountain or whatever. I guess fall in the ocean. I don't know what her plan was.
Yeah, I
But
thought the woman in bed was the woman that was in the car that he like closed the door and like she drove off. Um,
right,
but I'm assuming that was the day that he died because she's wearing the sweater and she had
yes.
gloves.
She's, she's
Um,
like, oh, so instead of killing myself, I came up with an ultimate evil plan. To what she said, she even said this. She's like, I killed your father and framed Cole for it, and all of this stuff. You're like, oh well, you went from killing yourself to the ultimate evil. How nice.
we
Uh, Love
we
her.
we had originally only seen him on the phone with like a gun to his head,
Yeah.
and so then we saw the pan up of that was her with the sweater and the gloves, but she didn't shoot him,
Mm.
right? He died from the concussion from the
Yeah, she died
that
from
she
the
hit him over the head
concussion.
with.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Um,
She's the best. She's like the best like villain on this show, I feel like.
they both acted great in this scene. They were both crying, um, but they
Yeah.
were like having a conversation, and I don't know if this was intentional. It's just something that they know how to do. But they both just had like one stream of tears running down each cheek.
Yeah.
Even as Melissa was like listening, you just saw like the tear like come down her cheek as she's just like taking in what actually happened. I thought it was
But
great.
you know what's funny though? Like Julia truly believes that she did the right thing. Like she's like, I had no way out of this but to kill your father. And like she just firmly believes it. And I guess she's a psycho. But she's only crying though because she will never see the new grandbaby. She's not
Right,
crying because she did what she did. She's
right. So
happy about
yeah,
that.
yeah. So Melissa tells us she's pregnant, and she's
Right.
really happy, and then she's like immediately sad, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And she's just like, "I'm just realizing that I'm never gonna see like be able to hold and love this child, because I'm gonna be in here, and I'm never gonna get to see it grow up." And um, she doesn't understand how Melissa could forgive her, and Melissa says, "There's no point in hating people that are still here over somebody that's gone," or something along those lines.
Right, right.
Um, which is a nice viewpoint to have, but I don't believe that Melissa believes that. She's just saying that to like make it seem like she
Yeah,
forgives her.
right. They're
um,
ultimately trying to ruin her and Angela, basically.
at one point, I think it was in this episode, Julia tried to pay a guard to make a phone call to San Francisco. She's like
Yes.
50, and she's like, "That's long distance." She's like 75, 100, whatever.
I got the money. Yeah, she calls Richard, I believe.
hmm Um, I think that, and that's pretty much all I got. The ending scene was Angela getting blackmailed into going down for the murder of Chase, if that
Yes.
happens. Um,
Oh, and Melissa and Lance kind of make up in this too, after that debacle.
oh, when she tells him that she went to go see his mother.
Yeah.
hmm Is that when she tells him she's
Um,
pregnant?
Maybe, yeah, I think so.
When she found out she was pregnant, I literally gasped. I was like, "Son of a bitch, they got me."
Yeah. And then remember how Cole got upset and he went to see Joseph and told her that she's doing a lousy job being a mother. Oh, when in this, I think it's in this episode when Emma and all them get to the hospital, Emma sees Michael for the first time, and that plays an important part of this season as well. She kind of is like, "Oh, new doctor man."
She's so funny.
So
She even,
that's why
she even dressed up
her
like
crush
a
kind of
doctor
started.
and to
Yes.
get into Chase's room. And then the nurse like questioned who she was, and I feel like she was just like she pretended like she was a doctor. She was like, "Make sure he gets the best care," and she's like, "I'll be back to check on you later."
Yeah, she gives like Chase a pep talk because he had helped her in the past, so she's there for
Yeah, I
him
like
and
that
helps
little
her through
callback
it.
to like when she was like on the run, but like Chase knew where she
Yeah,
was, and
it was
I
nice.
miss those. I was sad that she wasn't like in town with the rest of the family, but I liked her little quick moments where she was like, "I'm on the lam, I'm being followed. I gotta go."
Oh, I also mean, remember when Richard goes to the winery to see Angela? She like completely ignores him. He's like, Angela, Angela. And then like when he walks over and she's just like counting barrels or whatever she's doing. And like she didn't even like respond. She's just like, whatever. He's trying basic, that's why he's using Melissa. He wants to be the Carlos to the Angela. So that's why I was saying like Julia was doing it like to do the same thing. And now with Melissa marrying Lance, Angela wanted the same thing. Like they want to be the powerhouse of the Tuscany Valley,
Right.
and together they can be. So I think that is the thing of the season is like Angela and Richard fighting for that part. So I think they use Melissa too. Like he wants her grapes, she wants the grapes or whatever. And that's what the fight is for the season, I believe.
All right. Well, you have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, just that I love Julia. Team Julia. Kill everybody.
Everybody, kill them all.
Kill them all. They're evil.
Well, if you're watching this, you probably noticed that we have our Venmo listed at the bottom of the screen. So if you feel like donating to the podcast, anything you can afford, that'd be really helpful with production. Also, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great day. Bye.
Bye.